The lights inside the theater glow softly as the audience settles into their seats, unaware that what they are about to witness will blur the line between human and machine in a way none of them are prepared for. There is a quiet excitement in the air, the kind that always surrounds a Got Talent stage. People whisper. Judges adjust their seats. Cameras slowly glide across the crowd, capturing smiles, nervous faces, and that familiar sense of anticipation. At the judge's desk, Simon Cowell leans back slightly, arms resting comfortably, eyes scanning the stage with his usual calm confidence. He has seen it all. Singers who thought they were stars, dancers who tried too hard, novelty acts that lasted 10 seconds longer than they should have. Decades in this industry have trained him to spot greatness within seconds. And yet, even Simon has learned that every once in a while, the stage surprises him. The host steps forward, microphone in hand, voice echoing through the hall as he introduces the next act. The name sounds unusual, mysterious, almost futuristic. The audience murmurs softly. No one quite knows what to expect. From the back of the stage, a group slowly emerges. At first glance, they don't look like performers at all. They stand in a straight line, motionless, faces blank, posture perfectly upright. Their outfits are sleek and metallic, reflecting the stage lights in sharp, clean lines. Their eyes don't wander. Their breathing isn't visible. If you didn't know better, you might think they were statues. Or machines. A quiet ripple of confusion moves through the audience. Are these dancers? Actors? Robots? Simon narrows his eyes slightly, leaning forward now. His curiosity is clearly piqued. The music hasn't started yet, but something already feels different. The host asks the usual question, "Where are you from? What is your act?" And one member steps forward. The voice is calm, measured, almost too perfect. They explain that they are a robot dance group, inspired by technology, precision, and the future of movement. A few people in the crowd chuckle nervously. Robot dancers. Simon raises an eyebrow. He's heard claims like this before. Gimmicks come and go. Many acts rely on costumes and effects, hoping style will cover the lack of substance. Simon has little patience for that. He asks a simple question, one that has crushed hundreds of hopeful performers before. Why should we say yes to you? The performer pauses, then replies that tonight, they don't want the judges to believe they are robots. They want them to forget what humans are capable of. The room goes quiet. Simon smirks faintly, half amused, half skeptical. The host steps aside. The lights dim. The music begins with a low electronic hum, barely audible, like the sound of machines waking up. A soft blue light washes over the stage, outlining the figures in sharp silhouettes. For a split second, nothing happens. Then suddenly, all of them move at once. Not smoothly. Not naturally. Their heads snap to the side in perfect unison. The audience gasps. Their arms lift at exact angles, stopping abruptly as if controlled by invisible switches. Every movement is sharp, mechanical, unnervingly precise. There is no hesitation, no delay, no individual variation. Simon's posture changes instantly. He leans forward, elbows on the desk, eyes locked on the stage. This is not normal dancing. The beats grow stronger, and the dancers begin to shift positions, gliding across the floor in straight lines, stopping inches from one another without ever colliding. Their timing is flawless. When one moves, they all move. When one stops, the entire group freezes as if powered down. The audience erupts into applause, then falls silent again, unsure how to react. One dancer steps forward and begins a solo. The body moves in jerks and snaps, shoulders rotating unnaturally, joints popping into angles that don't seem possible. The face remains emotionless, eyes staring straight ahead, completely disconnected from the movement. It doesn't feel like acting. It feels programmed. Simon glances briefly at the other judges. Their mouths are slightly open. One of them shakes their head in disbelief. This is where most robot dance acts peak. A few impressive moves, some clever isolations, then repetition. But this performance is only beginning. The music suddenly cuts. Silence. In that silence, the dancer's head slowly turns toward Simon. The movement is slow, deliberate, disturbingly smooth. The audience laughs nervously. Then the beat drops again, harder this time, and the entire group explodes into motion. They begin a complex sequence where each dancer appears to glitch, freezing mid-motion while the others continue. One arm stops halfway through a punch. A leg locks in mid-step. A torso twists and holds, defying gravity. Simon's expression shifts from skepticism to something else. Respect. The choreography grows more intense, more layered. Some dancers move at double speed, others in slow motion, creating the illusion of different processing speeds, like machines running on different systems. They pass through each other's space with surgical precision, never touching, never missing a mark. The crowd can't sit still anymore. People are leaning forward, phones half raised, eyes wide. And then comes the moment that changes everything. One dancer suddenly collapses to the floor, as if malfunctioning. The music distorts, crackling like a broken signal. The others react instantly, movements shifting into something frantic yet controlled. They surround the fallen dancer, hands hovering inches above the body, fingers twitching rapidly like data being exchanged. Simon whispers something to the judge beside him, his voice low, astonished. This isn't just dancing. This is storytelling. The fallen dancer begins to rise, body shaking violently, movements erratic, completely out of sync with the group. It looks like a machine fighting for control. The face finally shows emotion for the first time. Fear. The audience feels it. The music builds to a climax as the group forces the dancer back into sync, movements slowly becoming uniform again. The chaos resolves into perfect order. Control is restored. As the final beat hits, all dancers freeze in a single pose, heads tilted at the exact same angle, eyes glowing under the stage lights. Silence. For half a second, no one moves. Then the entire theater explodes. The audience leaps to their feet, cheering, clapping, shouting. Some people are laughing in disbelief. Others are shaking their heads, hands over their mouths. Simon remains seated. But he's smiling. A genuine smile. He stands up slowly, joining the standing ovation, clapping deliberately, eyes never leaving the stage. When the applause finally settles, the dancers remain perfectly still, as if waiting for the next command. Simon picks up his microphone. And for the first time that night, he doesn't sound critical. He sounds impressed. The applause slowly fades, but the energy in the room doesn't disappear. It lingers, buzzing through the air like electricity. The dancers are still frozen on stage, locked in that final pose, not a single muscle twitching. The stillness feels deliberate, almost defiant, as if they are waiting to be powered down. Simon lowers his hands and studies them carefully. His applause was real, but his curiosity is far from satisfied. He leans toward the microphone. I've seen robot-style dancing before, he says, his voice calm. But sharp, cutting straight through the excitement. But this felt different. Almost unsettling. Tell me honestly, are you trying to convince us you're robots, or are you trying to convince yourselves? A faint ripple of laughter moves through the audience, but it's nervous laughter. Everyone wants to hear the answer. One dancer steps forward. The movement is smooth, controlled, but now unmistakably human. The voice answers that they are humans trained to move beyond human instinct. Their goal is not to imitate robots, but to remove emotion, hesitation, and imperfection from movement. Simon nods slowly. That explains why it made me uncomfortable, he replies. Because it didn't feel like performance. It felt like control. The audience murmurs in agreement. Another judge leans forward and asks how long it took to achieve that level of precision. The answer comes without hesitation. Years. Thousands of hours. Training muscles to stop reacting naturally. Training minds to obey rhythm like code. Simon's eyes narrow again, not in doubt, but in challenge. Can I test something? He asks. The crowd reacts instantly. Cheers, claps, whispers. Simon stands slightly, pointing toward the stage. I want you to break character. Right now. No music. No lights. Just move. For the first time, there is a pause. A long one. The dancers look at each other briefly, exchanging something silent. Then they nod. The stage lights brighten to full white. No shadows. No dramatic effects. Simon waits. Nothing happens. 5 seconds pass. 10. The audience shifts uncomfortably. Then, slowly, one dancer lifts an arm. The movement is different now. It's imperfect. The elbow bends slightly off angle. The wrist trembles just a little. Another dancer steps forward, foot landing slightly louder than before. Their breathing becomes visible. They are human again. Simon smiles knowingly. That's the difference, he says. You scared us when you took that away. The audience laughs, relieved, but also impressed. Just when it seems the moment has passed, the music suddenly starts again. No warning. A sharp electronic beat cuts through the air. The dancers snap back into formation instantly, faster than thought, faster than instinct. Any trace of humanity vanishes. The transformation is immediate and chilling. Simon's smile disappears. He didn't expect that. The choreography restarts, but this time it's even more intense. The movements are tighter, faster, more aggressive. The dancers appear to challenge the judges, as if saying you wanted proof, here it is. They begin interacting with the judges' table, pointing, locking eyes, mimicking the judges' own movements in real time. One dancer mirrors Simon perfectly, matching the way he leans back, the way he crosses his arms, the slight tilt of his head. The audience loses it. Simon laughs in disbelief, shaking his head as he realizes what's happening. That's creepy, he says, but he's still smiling. The dancers break into a sequence that looks almost impossible. Bodies move in opposite directions at once. Upper halves rotate while legs remain frozen. Heads snap backward as arms glide forward in fluid motion. It looks like animation brought to life. One judge covers their mouth, eyes wide. Another whispers, "This shouldn't be possible." The music shifts again, becoming darker, heavier. Red lights flood the stage, casting sharp shadows that make the dancers look less human and more like machines built for war. The movements now feel aggressive, powerful, almost threatening. The dancers stomp in unison, each step hitting the floor like a command. Their arms strike the air with force, stopping inches from one another's faces, never colliding. Simon leans forward again, fully engaged. This is no longer just impressive. It's unforgettable. Then, without warning, the music slows. The dancers begin to malfunction again, but this time it's different. Instead of one breaking down, all of them do. Movements become delayed, as if the system is overloaded. Heads twitch. Hands shake. Bodies jerk unpredictably. The audience goes silent. It feels wrong. Uncomfortable. One dancer looks directly at the judges, eyes wide, breathing heavy. The illusion cracks just enough to remind everyone that there are real people inside these machine-like movements. And then the beat returns. Harder than ever. The dancers snap back into perfect sync one final time, executing a rapid-fire sequence so precise it feels unreal. Spins stop on exact beats. Arms lock at identical angles. Feet strike the floor together like a single body. The final move hits. All dancers drop to one knee simultaneously, heads lowered, arms locked behind them, as if shutting down. The lights cut out. Blackness. For a moment, no one breathes. Then the lights return. The dancers are standing calmly now, relaxed, smiling softly for the first time all night. The illusion is over. The audience explodes again, louder than before. Simon stands up instantly. This, he says into the microphone, voice firm and certain, is one of the most controlled, disciplined, and original dance acts we've ever had on this stage. The dancers bow. Simon nods back, clearly impressed. But the night is not over yet. Because the votes are coming. And the decision might change. The noise inside the theater refuses to die down. Even as the dancers stand quietly on stage, smiling now, breathing like ordinary people, the audience keeps clapping, cheering, calling out. It feels like the room itself is struggling to process what just happened. Simon waits. He doesn't rush moments like this. He lets the reaction speak first. When the applause finally softens, he looks down the judges' table, then back up at the performers. His expression is serious again, thoughtful, the way it gets when he knows an act has crossed a line from entertainment into something bigger. "I'm going to be honest with you," he says. "I didn't know how I was supposed to feel watching that. And that's actually a compliment." The audience laughs lightly. "There were moments where I forgot you were human. And then moments where I was reminded that you are." That tension is powerful. One of the judges jumps in, unable to hold back. "I was genuinely uncomfortable," they admit. "And I mean that in the best way possible. I've never felt threatened by a dance act before. That felt like the future." The crowd reacts loudly to that. Another judge nods. "What impressed me most was the discipline. Anyone can learn moves. What you did was a race instinct. That takes an insane amount of control." The dancers listen respectfully, heads slightly bowed. Simon lifts his microphone again. "But here's the thing," he says, his tone shifting just enough to make the room go quiet again. "This competition isn't about tricks. It's about connection. And I want to know if people will connect with you week after week, not just be shocked once." There it is. The real test. The dancers exchange quick glances, then one steps forward again. "We understand that," they say calmly. "That's why this wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing what happens when control goes too far. When systems fail. When humanity fights back." A murmur moves through the audience as people realize what they saw wasn't just movement, it was a message. Simon nods slowly. "I think a lot of people missed that," he admits. "But I didn't." He leans back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes locked on the group. "This is the kind of act that changes depending on how far you're willing to push it. You could play it safe and be impressive. Or you could risk everything and be unforgettable." The tension is thick now. Even the dancers seem more nervous than during the performance. The host steps forward, reminding everyone that it's time for the votes. The first judge doesn't hesitate. "That is a yes for me," they say firmly. "Because I've never seen anything like that on this stage." The audience cheers. The second judge nods. "It's a yes. You made me question reality for 3 minutes, and that doesn't happen often." More cheers. All eyes turn to Simon. He takes his time. The silence stretches. Simon looks out at the audience, then back at the dancers. "You know," he says slowly, "years ago, I would have said no to something like this. I would have said it's too weird, too cold, too risky." The dancers tense. But this show isn't about playing it safe anymore. The crowd starts clapping even before he finishes. "This is a yes," Simon says. "And not just a yes. This is the kind of act that could go very, very far if you're smart about it." The theater erupts. The dancers finally break composure completely, smiling wide, some laughing, some covering their faces in disbelief. They hug each other quickly, then catch themselves, almost instinctively snapping back into controlled posture, which makes the audience laugh even harder. Simon smiles at that moment. "Just don't forget you're human," he adds. The dancers nod. As they walk off stage, the camera follows them backstage, where the tension finally releases. Hands shake. Deep breaths are taken. One dancer leans against the wall, laughing nervously. Out on the judge's table, Simon watches the monitors, still focused. That, he says quietly to the others, is why I still love this job. The host returns to center stage, hyping up the crowd, but the buzz doesn't fade. People are still talking, replaying moments in their heads, mimicking the sharp movements, shaking their heads in disbelief. That performance doesn't feel finished. It feels like a beginning. Because acts like this don't just compete. They evolve. And somewhere deep down, everyone in that theater knows they've just witnessed the start of something unforgettable.